Channel. wildlifeLensTV. WLTV Cinematic Documentary. Title: The Animal That Outlives Generations, The Secret World of Tortoises. Imagine being born into a world where generations of humans will come and go, while you keep walking. No roaring. No sprinting. No enormous teeth. Just a shell, 4 powerful legs, and an almost unbelievable ability to endure. The tortoise looks like an animal that nature forgot to hurry. But that apparent weakness hides something extraordinary. Because across deserts, forests, uplands and grasslands, tortoises have survived through heat, drought, predators and dramatic changes to their environments. Some species can live for many decades, and giant tortoises can survive for well over a century. They are not built for speed. They are built for time. This is the secret world of the tortoise. Act 1: The animal that takes its time. At first glance, a tortoise seems almost absurdly simple. A heavy shell. A small head. 4 sturdy limbs. And a pace that makes almost every other animal look impatient. But the tortoise is not trying to win a race. Its entire lifestyle is based on a different strategy. Conserve. Endure. Wait. And survive? Tortoises are terrestrial members of the order Tortoises, while most turtles are aquatic or semi-aquatic. Their bodies are designed primarily for life on land, although tortoises can sometimes swim surprisingly well. Their famous shell is not an external backpack. It is part of their skeleton. The upper shell, called the carapace, and the lower shell, called the plastron, are connected to the animal's body. Underneath that armor are bones, muscles and organs protected by one of nature's most remarkable defensive structures. The tortoise doesn't need to outrun every predator. It has another option. It can become extremely difficult to eat. Act 2: A fortress on 4 legs. The shell is the tortoise's signature weapon. But calling it armor doesn't fully explain what it is. The shell is living tissue. It grows with the animal. It contains nerves and blood vessels. And it can feel touch. That means the shell is not some dead protective covering. It is part of the tortoise itself. When danger approaches, many tortoises retract their heads and limbs into the shell. Some species have taken this defense even further. The African hinge-back tortoise, for example, possesses a hinge section that helps close the rear of its shell, protecting vulnerable areas. For a predator, attacking a fully withdrawn tortoise can become a frustrating problem. There may be no exposed flesh. No easy grip. No obvious opening. The predator has to find another opportunity. And this is one of the great lessons of tortoise evolution. Survival does not always belong to the fastest animal. Sometimes, it belongs to the hardest animal to kill. Act 3: Built for extreme conditions. The world can be brutally unforgiving. For a tortoise living in a dry landscape, every drop of water matters. Every leaf matters. Every hour spent under the wrong sun can cost precious energy. Some tortoises survive by spending much of their time avoiding the worst conditions. They seek shade. They hide beneath vegetation. They retreat into burrows or rocky shelters. And their metabolism allows them to function without constantly consuming the enormous quantities of food required by a fast-moving mammal. This is especially important in deserts. The Mojave Desert tortoise, for example, survives in an environment where temperatures can become extreme and water is scarce. Its survival depends heavily on what it eats, when it feeds, and where it takes shelter. The tortoise's slow lifestyle is therefore not simply a curiosity. It is part of an energy-saving strategy. Instead of constantly spending energy, it saves energy wherever possible. Act 4, The Secret of Long Life. Perhaps the most fascinating feature of some tortoises is not their shell. It is time. Some tortoises are remarkably long-lived. Red-footed tortoises frequently reach 50 years or more. But giant tortoises can go much further. The Aldabra giant tortoise can reach approximately 150 years. Think about what that means. A tortoise could witness generations of people being born, growing old and disappearing, while the same animal continues moving through its island habitat. But longevity should not be confused with immortality. Tortoises still face disease, injury, predators, habitat loss, and human pressure. Their long lives are the result of biology, environment, and evolutionary adaptations, not an inability to die. Scientists continue to investigate why some long-lived reptiles appear to age differently from many mammals. Their slow metabolism, robust physiology, and unusual life histories make them especially interesting subjects for longevity research. The tortoise may move slowly, but scientifically, it raises some very big questions. Act 5, The Giants of the Islands. On isolated islands, evolution created some of the most spectacular tortoises on Earth. The Galapagos giant tortoises and the Aldabra giant tortoise. These animals are enormous compared with most tortoise species. The Aldabra giant tortoise can reach hundreds of pounds and is the largest animal on the Aldabra atoll. It plays an ecological role similar in some ways to that of larger beavers on continental ecosystems. It grazes. It browses. It pushes through vegetation. It can knock down smaller plants to reach food. And as seeds pass through its digestive system, the tortoise can help transport them through its environment. That means the giant tortoise is not simply living in the ecosystem. It is helping shape it. An animal that looks slow and passive can actually be an important force in its habitat. Act 6, The Race Nobody Sees. But there is a hidden side to the tortoise's life. Its greatest challenge may come before it becomes an adult. The hatchling. A baby tortoise emerges from an egg carrying the same basic blueprint as the giant adult. But it is tiny, vulnerable, and exposed. For many species, eggs and young tortoises face intense predation. A nest may contain several eggs, but only a fraction may eventually survive to adulthood. This creates one of the strangest contradictions in tortoise biology. The adult can be incredibly difficult to kill. The baby can be incredibly easy to kill. That is why reproduction matters so much. A tortoise does not necessarily need to produce huge numbers of offspring if enough individuals survive for a very long time. But when adult populations decline, replacing those animals can take decades. That makes slow life histories both a strength and a vulnerability. Act 7. The hidden life of a tortoise. The tortoise may appear silent, but its world is not empty. It responds to its environment. It searches for food. It recognizes familiar surroundings. It interacts with other tortoises. And some species display surprisingly complex behaviors. Aldabra giant tortoises, for example, can learn to recognize their keepers in human care. Males may compete with one another over breeding opportunities. Courtship can involve head movements, positioning and physical interaction. Even the simplest-looking animal can have a behavioral world that is far richer than its appearance suggests. The mistake is assuming that intelligence must look like ours. A tortoise does not need to build cities. It does not need to speak. Its intelligence is expressed through survival. Knowing where food appears. Knowing where shelter can be found. Recognizing threats. Navigating its environment. And remembering enough to make the next decision. Act 8. When the slow survivor meets a fast world. For millions of years, tortoises evolved in environments where the biggest threats were natural.
Slow and steady.
But today, the rules have changed.
Slow and
Habitat
steady.
destruction can remove the plants they
keep
depend
moving.
on.
Slow and
Roads
steady.
can fragment their territories.
Just keep moving.
Introduced
Slow
predators
and
can
steady.
attack eggs and hatchlings.
Just keep moving.
Illegal collection can remove animals from the wild. And on islands, even a single introduced species can transform an ecosystem. For a slow-growing animal, population recovery can be painfully slow. This is especially serious for species that produce relatively few young or have long periods before reaching maturity. The tortoise's greatest strength, its slow, efficient life, can become a weakness when humans remove adults faster than nature can replace them. A population that took decades to build can disappear much faster. Act 9. The species we could lose. Some tortoises are already in serious trouble. The spider tortoise of Madagascar is a striking example. It is critically endangered. Its habitat has been shrinking, and its reproductive biology makes recovery difficult. Females may lay only one egg per clutch. That means losing adults is not simply losing one animal. It can mean losing decades of future reproduction. The problem becomes even more serious when habitat disappears. A tortoise cannot simply migrate hundreds of miles overnight. Its world is measured in smaller distances. Its survival depends on the continuity of the landscape around it. Protecting tortoises therefore means protecting much more than the animal itself. It means protecting nesting grounds, food plants, shelter, migration routes, and the ecological systems that allow young tortoises to survive long enough to become adults. Act 10. The survivor of deep time. The tortoise teaches us something humans often forget. Survival does not always look dramatic. Sometimes survival is simply continuing. One step. Then another. Finding shade. Finding food. Avoiding danger. Growing. Reproducing. And doing it again. For decades. For generations. The tortoise does not dominate its environment through speed. It does not rule through strength alone. It survives through patience, efficiency, protection, and time. Perhaps that is why the tortoise has fascinated humanity for thousands of years. Because when everything around it seems to be moving faster, the tortoise keeps going. Slowly. Quietly. Almost unnoticed. But still here. And after generation has passed, it is still walking. So the next time you see a tortoise, don't mistake its slowness for weakness. You may be looking at one of nature's greatest endurance specialists. An animal that doesn't need to hurry. Because evolution gave it another advantage. Time. This is wildlifeLensTV. Subscribe for more extraordinary stories from the natural world.